Today's discussion with our presenter, Jocelyn Campbell, and she is awesome. She is a top Latina blogger. She is award-winning. She has done an amazing array of things in conjunction with businesses and brands that include working in conjunction with the federal government for over 10 years within this space. And over the last decade, she is doing this in a consulting practice. And I want you all to give her your attention, and I hope that she benefits us just as much as she benefits her clients. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon. I hope everyone's kind of calm now. It's been a lot, but this has been one of my favorite conferences to attend. And what I wanted to talk about basically was about how brands and bloggers can work together, specifically how brands can partner with bloggers to create a mutually beneficial relationship. And there's some key components to that involves in that. Just as Justice said, my name is Jocelyn Campbell, and for 10 years I worked in the federal government under the Obama and Bush administration, and then after that I created my own digital company. I have done consulting work for brands, and I have a digital marketing agency, so I work in this sphere of working with brands. My mind works both ways, and what works well for the brand and also what works well as a blogger, because I'm a blogger myself. So one of the first things that you need to know as a brand or a blogger is trying to find the right influencers. If you're starting a campaign or you want to work with influencers, where are they? Where can you find the right ones that actually fit to your market, to your consumer? So there's a couple key ways that you could do that. The first, very simple, is know your target audience. Who is your target audience that you are targeting? Is it the key demographics? Who's your consumer? Are you connecting with your consumer right now? Also, when you're looking for an influencer, you want to find ones that align with your values and with your plan, your marketing goals. So you want to find out if they are a family blogger. Is that a consumer market that you're trying to connect with? Are they a lifestyle blogger? Is there a specific niche? Are you looking for multicultural? Are you looking for Latinos? Are you looking for African American communities? Find out what your brand is targeting so that you know who to find and what right influencer works with you. Also, number 3, what are the goals and budget for this initiative? What are you trying to accomplish with the campaigns that you're setting up? Is it seasonal? The holidays are coming up. Are you trying to do something, launch a product, or work for something for Christmas? What is it seasonal? Is it awareness? Are you trying to drive awareness to a new book, a new product, a new product placement? What are you trying to accomplish? And is it also, are you looking to work with bloggers or influencers on a short-term or a long-term basis? Are you invested into building a relationship, or is it something that has actually a life cycle because it's a product placement, it's something that you want to do for a few weeks, a few months? So knowing your target audience and what your goals are will help you to find the right influencers. You want to identify those key goals when you're working with influencers and bloggers. So is it exposure? Is it awareness and traffic? Is it an increase of sales of a product that already exists or is soon to be coming? Are you trying to get credibility in the marketplace? Do people not know who your brand is? Or do they know who your brand is, but we've had a couple of issues and now you're trying to clean up your marketing space? So you've got to find out, first of all, what your goals are. Is it exposure? What are you willing to offer in exchange for working with those bloggers and those influencers in that space? So are you offering discounts or giveaways that the blogger can offer that to their audience? Are you trying to do complimentary products and services, trips and experiences? Do you want, if you are, for example, a travel site, do you want bloggers to come to where your location is and experience your hotel or experience the city that you're at, that you're trying to promote? Tourism. What is it that you are giving the bloggers in exchange for their work? The other one is compensation. Do you have a budget? And what is that monetary compensation? Is it sponsored opportunities, whether they be online or offline events, where bloggers' offline events can look like many different ways, where you have just people in the neighborhood, kind of have like a pampered chef kind of party, getting to know your product? Or is it an event that you're doing that you want other bloggers to attend and be tweeting about it and experiencing your event live, and you want that engagement right there in real life? Are you looking for that long-term relationship? Are you looking to work with influencers on a longer scale versus a short time, something that's just for the season or something that is just for a short time basis? So you want to choose your partnerships that best help achieve your marketing and your sales goals. Finding your influencers. So one of the first things I always say is check your insights. You will find in your social media platforms, you will find your CRM data, your customer-driven data, and you will find when your customers are online, what time they're online, where are they from, even breaks down by age and demographics. You want to really invest in some time to look into your insights. First of all, your social media insights. Number two, find out who's talking about your brand. That could be something as simple as a hashtag search or a social media search. You can use companies like BuzzSumo, Chrisman Hexen, Media IQ, a social media search. You can use companies that will actually generate those kind of corporate reports that you might need to find out really who your consumer is. But if you're a small business and you can't hire that, then I always say start doing simple searches, social media searches, looking at your social media insights, Facebook, Instagram, looking to find out when your consumers are online, when they're connecting with your social media spaces. And that's number three, SEO searches. You can just do, if you have a branded hashtag that you have for your brand, click on that hashtag, look, find out who's already organically talking about your brand. Find out on Google. You can just Google your brand or Google that hashtag, and you will see the different social media mentions and blog mentions as well of people that are already interacting with your brand or that might have also similar interests into what you're talking about. Because when you do a branded hashtag search, out will also come out things that have similar interests to that hashtag. So you can also find other influencers that way as well. One of them, number 4, you're already doing. You're right here, which is attending the Florida Blog Conference. That is a wonderful way to meet in real life bloggers and influencers that you're trying to work with. Another way is to connect and work with blogger networking groups. Networking groups already have bloggers of all different lifestyles, of all different arenas that are already registered to their site, and they are just waiting to go for a campaign to start or to connect with brands. So these are just a few that I mentioned here. There are many, and I can give you a full list, but there are so many different type of blogger networks where you can find brands and you can customize it to what you want. You can tell a blogger network, I'm looking for a certain type of blogger, they need to have these many impressions, and you can really customize it to what your needs are. "68% of social media influencers are female. There were 2 recent surveys done, 2017 and 2015. It said that 68% of social media influencers are female. 84% of the brands that were polled said that they at least launched 1 influencer marketing campaign last year, and 81% of those brands saw an increase in web traffic and sales. Another thing that's kind of unique about working with influencers, especially the female influencers, is that 56% of them say that they do not see other influencers as direct competition. As a matter of fact, they see them more as business partners. You will see a lot of times that female influencers and influencers in general actually team up together to bring a corporate a presentation. They will do outside of the box ideas, ways that they can work together, and they come together in a group of 2 or 3 because they're trying to hit different demographics, different target areas for the brand, and they work together, which is something that we don't see every day in business when we see a lot of business competition one with another. 98% of mom bloggers find their information about the brand, about a product, of anything that has to do with that brand, information about it, on the social feeds. So if they're a mom blogger, they're already following you on social media. If they are interested in your brand, you will find them following you. And that is where the first place they actually get information about your brand. Before an email, before anything else, they are seeing it first on social media. 40% of female influencers actually post content 3 times a day. So when you're engaging with an influencer, you're engaging with someone that is active on social media throughout the day. And when they ask whether they tend to prepare content for a brand, meaning sometimes they do social media takeovers, or if they are doing a campaign for the brand, 60% of female responded in the affirmative, including that they do product testing. Basically, they're doing almost everything of the written copy and the social media copy for the brand, and it's just the brand approving it. So it's a lot of times small businesses tend to worry that they don't have someone that can do copy editing, and they don't have someone that can oversee all of this. Most of the time, the influencers are doing all that work, and it's just coming to you for final approval. Finding your partners. So one of the things that you want to find out is that the partner that you're getting, a social media influencer, are they relevant? Do they have an ongoing updated social media presence? Nobody wants to see a Facebook page that hasn't been updated in the last 6 months. So you want to make sure that when you look at their social media presence, that they have been updated recently. Are they creating content that offers tips or resources? Are they creating content that speaks to your consumer? Are they creating content that are helpful to the consumer database that you are trying to target to? Are they sharing information that complements your brand's vision? And also, are they authentic to themselves? If you're looking and talking with a food blogger, are they talking about food? Are they connecting with brands that resonate with their own brand, restaurants, creating recipes? So you want to find out that if this influencer, not only are they relevant in the space that they are in, but they also are in alignment with your brand and their own vision that they have put out there for themselves. Are they real influencers, real followers versus likes? It's always a very big thing, finding out if someone has been buying posts, been buying likes, been buying, just kind of that bot marketing. One of the easiest ways to tell is to see if there's engagement. Are there comments on their posts? Are people liking it? Are they having authentic conversations with those that are engaging with those posts? Do they have verified social media pages? It still matters to a lot of brands to see that little blue check mark on their social media pages. Have they worked with brands before? Can you look on their website and see that they have worked with other brands? And also, when it comes to working with other brands, do you want a social media page or an influencer that only has sponsored content and that's it? Or are you looking for those that have kind of a good mix of sponsored content, but also authentic, original posting about their family, about what their site is about? So you want to also see if that is something that is important to your brand. Engagement. It's really not about the numbers. Oftentimes, I will tell brands the same thing. I'd rather work with someone that has 2,000 followers, but has real conversation and real engagement and real influence over those 2,000 followers than someone who has 5 million and it has 0% of conversion rate. So we want to make sure that when you're looking at it, you're not just thinking about, oh, this one has 1 million, this one, it's not that. It's if they're having authenticity, if they're having engagement, and if real conversations are happening. Is authentic storytelling happening? Is it really pictures that they took that you can see? It's wonderful to have beautiful style photos, but some of the most engaging content is the one where the kid is in the background, naked on the counter, and the milk is spilled on the side. It's real life. It's real motherhood. It's real life. Those are the ones that people love to see. Besides the beautiful photos, which everyone loves, but there's also to see that there's an authenticity, that life doesn't always go as planned, and you see that in those social media pages. So you want to see that engagement and that kind of real authenticity in their storytelling. Also, creative control. One of the things I always often tell brands is that you've got to let them do what they know how to do. Give the creative control to the influencer. If you're engaging with that influencer, it's because you want to work with them. They know their audience. They know what works for their audience. They know what time to put up that social media post. You don't want to put them in a box. Give them a guidelines of what your goals are, but let them do what they need to do. Let them take off with that story and create the content that attracted you to them in the beginning anyway. So you want to make sure that you give all creative control to the influencer. Definitely oversee it, but don't put them in a box of things that they can or cannot do. Getting a good pitch. I think for influencers, we are inundated with pitches from brands and vice versa. Brands are also inundated with pitches all day long from brands. One of the sessions this afternoon also said that one of the marketers said that they only receive, from the pitches that they receive, so many on a daily basis, only 20% come in with a media kit. That right there shows to that marketer that the people that are pitching to them are not professional, because they are coming in and saying and asking for a lot of things without having any fact sheet, without having anything to back it up. So a media kit is your front door. It is what you are sending to them, especially when you have not had any relationship, you are trying to start a relationship. A media kit is very important. So this session, this part is called Getting a Good Pitch, Approve the Pitch, because you want, as a PR brand, to know Is this a good pitch or not? And sometimes even the PR marketers and the brands do not know what is expected. So this is just a very brief example of a good pitch. They have a short, detailed introduction. They say what kind of blogger they are, the name of their site, and I cannot tell you how many times I see pitches that do not have the website included. So they have on there how many monthly visitors already in the first paragraph, how many average visitors they get, their number of social media platforms, where you can find their social media platforms, and then they go into their idea, basically their pitch. What is the services they can provide? If they can offer blog and social media promotion, or social media takeover, or customized hashtags for reporting, what it is that they're offering. Are they offering to do a campaign, or can they show you a recent campaign they've done? Anything that proves and shows what they're able to do is very important to see right up in the near top in the pitch. Remember that brands get a lot of pitches, and you don't want to have them have to be searching all over your site for it. Have it very easily so that they can easily see it when they open up your email. And then put in your request. After you've shown them who you are, after you've shown them your social media platforms and what service you can provide, then put in your specific request. What is it that you're offering? Are you looking for a partnership? Come out with ideas about ways that you two can work together. And show them any examples that you have. This is a great opportunity right there to show them any examples that you have that you've worked with other brands, or if you worked on a marketing campaign or a collaboration with other bloggers. This is where you want to put it in. And then the last thing is your link or an attachment of your media kit. A media kit, a lot of people say just do a one-sheeter. That's perfectly fine, that's perfect. There's other people that want to show like actual snapshots of a campaign they did. Put that in your media kit. It's okay if it's 2 or 3 pages, that's okay, as long as your impertinent information is up on the first page. Of course, there's a good pitch, there's always a bad pitch as well. And this is an actual bad pitch that the site did receive. We've removed the names to protect the innocent. But this was an actual pitch that a brand did receive. Huge following, great. Love to hear about your company. They want a super deluxe, ultimate 7-day exclusive experience, traveling with photographers and assistants who were all the ages of 3 and 9. And they want the tour comped for everybody, okay? And in exchange for this 2-hour tour, they were guaranteeing 17 blog posts and 40 social media mentions. At the end, they put only their first name, and they never even attached a media kit. So this was an actual pitch. So this is the kind of things that brands do receive on a daily basis, so you want to make sure that yours is set apart. Some of the things that your media kit should have is data that matters. Have up there, go to your Google Analytics, WordPress, Jetpack, whatever it is that you use, and find your audience profile. In your media kit, as you see in the second slide right there, you see her, she put in there everything, like the visitors, the unique visitors, the page per visits, the return rates, the followers. She had everything on a one-page slide, so it was very easy to see. The other thing that was easy to see is the other brands that she has worked with and any media mentions. Media mentions are important. If you listen to the afternoon keynote, you saw that media mentions mean what? Credibility, right? So the media mentions, anywhere that you have appeared in the news or an outlet, those are important to include as well. Remember that when you are sending something in, you might be sending it to the contact that's there, the PR contact, but that is not where the buck stops. They have to send this in to a chain of people, a chain of command. They've got to send it into their marketing staff. It has to get approval by some vice president. It has to go up different levels. And those people don't know who you are. You might have a relationship with the PR person, but you might not even know that person. So remember that when you're sending in these things, you want to be as professional and as thorough as possible. So how can brands and bloggers and influencers working together? There's some things that are earned, paid, and owned. For example, owned is website content. If you're writing on the website of the brand, they own that. If you're doing a social media takeover on their social media, they own that. If you're doing a brand ambassadorship, it lives on your site, but there's also times where they might want you to do something on their site. That's when they own it. Content creation, things that are paid. Content creation, partnerships, collaboration, events that you might host for a brand, as if you're being a spokesperson on television, or for if they sponsoring you to a conference. Any studies, case studies, or idea, these are all things that come from collaborations that have had some type of monetary compensation or some sort of financial compensation that you both have agreed upon. And what's earned for the brand is those social media engagements, is those recommendations, is those reviews. That's earned because of the relationship that the both of you have. That's earned for the brand because of the working relationship that the two of you have now started. Negotiating. This is a big one. Oftentimes, brands think, well, we're sending them out for a free thing. That should be enough. You have to know when you're working with influencers, if you're requiring their time, their effort, there has to be some sort of compensation. And compensation can come up in many different forms. It can be a gift card. It can be a monetary check. It can be an experience that you're comping for everything. It really depends on what the campaign that the two of you have going on. But you have to understand that there is some negotiation. So understand, it's very important to I always tell brands all the time, understand that influencers are expecting reasonable and appropriate pay for their work. Whatever it is that the two of you as the brand and the influencer have worked out, but you both have to be in agreement with it and understand that there is going to be some expense. This is something that if you're working with influencers and you're doing influencer marketing, you need to have a budget line item that has compensation, whatever and however that compensation may look according to the brand and according to what the influencer you both have agreed upon, but there has to be some sort of compensation. And a lot of times bloggers, this is something to also for the brands to not to be expected, is something that they ask for, is a good faith estimate, especially if they've never worked with you before. A lot of them require some percentage to begin to commence work. And that is because a lot of influencers have had very bad experiences where they've done wonderful work for brands and they don't get paid for it, or they get paid, almost a year later, for work that was done and was needed to be done by a certain time. So that is something that's also asked for by a lot of serious influencers. Don't offer low incentives, like a free coupon in exchange for a 6-month series, in exchange for a link back, exchange for so much work, and what you're essentially giving them is a free coupon. It really undermines the credibility of the brand. You want to start a working relationship, and the key word in there is working relationship. You want something to be mutually beneficial. So you want to show them respect as much as you want them to show you respect as a brand. Always know that a lot of the bloggers have a benchmark, a typical fee for their blog posts, whether they're pictures or their videos. But now with so many different ways and so many different avenues to monetize and to create additional streams of revenue, a lot of times brands want to capitalize on live content, for example. Live video is king right now. So they'll want to capitalize on that and they want you to do that. Perfect, but you have to understand that when you're starting to add on to what was already a basis of just a blog post and some pictures and videos, and now you're adding on 3 or 4 different things when it comes to live content, for example, or on-site activations, hosting an event, being a spokesperson, those are going to require additional fees. So you have to be reasonable in expecting now that you've already paid for one work, but now you're asking for a whole different set of work. Might be all under the same scope of the campaign, but the scope of work is broken out into different ways. So you want to make sure that you understand that there might be additional fees if you're asking them to produce more content, especially if it's live, on-site activations, being a spokesperson. And you want to expect to negotiate. You want to open up a dialogue for a mutually beneficial relationship. I would say that a lot of times bloggers, a lot of things I hear is, well, what should I charge them? And then the brands say, well, what should we expect from them? You want to start at a fair price. I always tell bloggers, start at a fair price. In order to start at a fair price, you've got to know what you're worth. It's so important to know what you're worth so that when you pitch a brand, you're not lowballing them and you're not coming out with Justin Bieber's prices. So, you want to know exactly where you're worth. I always say to the bloggers, you can pitch a little high, give them some room to negotiate. Remember that the PR agency or the PR contact that you're talking to has to still go up that chain of command and get approval. Sometimes they don't even know what the budget is. So you want to give them some room of flexibility where you land in the middle, you're comfortable and so are they. Contracts and agreements. Always good rule of thumb, if you're doing something that's going to be requiring long-term, if it's going to be even just one blog post, always have it in writing. No matter what it is, have it in writing. Things that you should really be clear on so that there is not an issue later on is clarity with the terms. Are you asking for exclusivity? Are you asking for the influencer not to work with your direct competitor for an X amount of time? Are you asking them for a non-compete, an NDA? Those are things that really, really need to be very clear when in terms. And if you think that the blogger doesn't know, or if you're a blogger and you're not sure, please ask. It's so important. Make sure that you have a clear statement of work and the scope of services. How many number of blog posts are you expecting as a brand? How many social media posts, videos, or live content? Any content that is created on behalf of the brand. And when is it due? A lot of times you'll hear a brand say, oh, soon, whenever, in a couple, we're doing this for like a month or two, so we'll see it, and they don't give you the exact date. Realize that the influencers have an editorial calendar as well, the same way that the brand has their own calendar. So you want to make sure that those two dates align and everyone knows what's due when it's due. So that's really important to know when your deadlines are. Grants of rights. A lot of times it's always kind of written in this third paragraph somewhere in the middle, but are you giving away your likeness to this brand? Is the brand asking you for unlimited rights? Sometimes within a campaign, it can just be a few months that they want to use your likeness, your images on their social media platforms, but other times it's a non-exclusive, worldwide unlimited rights, meaning that you can see something that is 3 years from now, you can still see your photo on something that they're doing now. I'll give you an example of that with Disney, where I worked with Disney. I knew that I was signing my rights with Disney to work with them on a campaign for me and my family. So it wasn't just me, it was actually with my family as well. And they did say very clearly that they would be using this for, not exclusive, using it, unlimited usage of it, and that I can see it 5 years from now. And sure enough, a commercial came out 2 years later and there was my family in it. I knew that going into it, and they paid accordingly to that. But a lot of times bloggers don't know that, and they'll be surprised to see in the holidays or something, especially if it's something food related, they'll see a picture or post that they shared maybe 2 years ago, and they're using it now. So understand what you're signing away with that. Materials that are being provided by the brand. Make sure you have that clear on paper too. Are they giving you images, or are you solely creating all the images that are going to be using for your social media platforms and even for their platforms as well? Are they giving you any marketing material? Are they giving you any giveaways, discounts to offer to your own sites? And make sure that's all clearly stated. Travel is another one. A lot of times when you are with being a spokesperson, or if you're coming to a conference, they'll sponsor you. Who is paying the cost of that? So a lot of times, if you look at the campaign, if you look at a contract, you have to be sure that are they providing for those travel costs, or because they're paying you a lump sum, they thinking that you're going to pay for your own travel and your own hotel and your own food. So make sure that that is clearly stated who is paying for what when it comes to traveling on behalf of a campaign or a brand. And also knowing your payment schedule. Knowing the payment schedule and how they're paying you, whether it's through a gift card or monetary, or it's just complimentary services, or it's a complimentary familiarization trip. Understanding what the payment is and knowing when it's due is very important. I talk fast because I'm from New York, so anybody stop me if I'm talking too fast, okay? Collaborating with the subject matter experts. If you're an influencer in this room, you are the subject matter expert. You are the storyteller and the creator. You are the one creating photo and video production. You are the one that is in control of these partnerships, brand ambassadorships. So understand, as a brand, if you are working with an influencer, you're working with a subject matter expert. You're going to them for their expertise. So let them do what they know how to do. They know their business. So if you want a blogger to work with you, definitely set up parameters of what your marketing goals are and what you are trying to accomplish, but let them do what they know how to do. If you're working together and they've already attracted you, it's because you've seen something that they've done that you like. So you want to make sure that you give them enough space to have that creative control. These are just a few case examples that I have of my own. One was McDonald's CFL, Me Encanta case example. At that time when we worked with McDonald's, they had not done anything that was marketed to the multicultural and Latino market. They had done many general market events, but they had not done one specifically for the Latino market, and especially when it came to healthy initiatives. Their idea was, Latinos like to eat, and they don't want to hear about nothing healthy. So that was their main idea behind it. So myself and a few other bloggers, we came together and we presented an idea to McDonald's that if they're coming out now with a new healthy line of food, that we should be able to market it to the Latino market, and let's show them how fun it can be to eat healthy and also have fun at McDonald's, which doesn't seem like they'll go together, but it did. So we've proposed a 2-hour event where we would invite not only influencers, but just our neighbors, friends, people in the community that obviously visit McDonald's to come out and experience the new Healthy Line initiative. And so we created an invitation with McDonald's teams. We created an invitation with them. We had influential bloggers that came, even teachers, Chamber of Commerce representatives, and then just regular, everyday family and friends that came out. We went to a very fun McDonald's. A lot of you might know it. It's the one over there at International Drive. We had there so the kids had something to play with. We gave them swag bags, and of course we had the entire menu of their healthy initiatives there. We had it for 2 hours. It was the official event, but because that McDonald's also had a gaming area on top, it went until 2 p.m. And we had about 200 people that came. We had a branded hashtag, so we were tweeting the whole time that it was there. People were taking pictures on their personal, those that were just not bloggers, they were taking on their personal, even they were using the hashtag, and we had just a real party in person, but also online, because during online we also had a giveaway during the event, and we had almost 2 million in impressions within those 2 hours. We trended nationally within an hour of the event, and we got picked up by the Orlando Business Journal about why Central Florida companies should build relationships with bloggers. The other one is from Space Coast Summer. Now this is from a travel organization. This is the official agency for Space Coast. One of the things that they wanted to do was attract people to come to the Space Coast. When they did their market research, they found out that many people didn't even know that the Florida Space Coast extended 72 miles of beach and coastline. When people said Space Coast, people only thought of the Kennedy Space Center, and that was it. So they wanted to really generate awareness. Summertime was coming, and they wanted to generate awareness not only to the people in Florida, but to the states that were nearby, that were within driving distance of the Space Coast. So they hired me to be as a spokesperson for them, but also to have a familiarization trip with my family to showcase that the Space Coast was just more than just Kennedy Space Center, but that it was a place for all families of all different diverse backgrounds, that they can have a great time and a great vacation at the Space Coast. So a couple of just the media examples that we had, we got picked up by the Orlando Sentinel in Spanish and English. I traveled to Atlanta, did a just vacations that pack a punch, things that you can do in the Space Coast that were outside of the beaches. And then we did one for in Spanish for those because they were trying to also market the multicultural market for those that were planning their summer vacations in Spanish. One of the things that happens when you start working with brands, and especially if you're trying to engage in a long-term relationship, is that future opportunities come out. So after the Space Coast ended, which was a very successful campaign between the both of us, they asked me to come out and do a baby moon experience when I was pregnant with my last child. So that was something that had nothing to do with the Space Coast Summer, but it was already it was a successful campaign, so they wanted to continue the relationship. And that's why I say that it's so important that when you're going into knowing your alignment of your goals and marketing goals and what you're trying to accomplish, because if you want to have a long-term relationship, that's something you want to think about in the future, a budget for that long-term. If this is successful, how can we work with this influencer again for something that aligns for both of your goals? Something that happened just, this was last year, was St. Augustine. A lot of us who are from here or have been in Florida alone know that St. Augustine is a very historical site, and a lot of classes in 5th grade go there to visit. But what a lot of people didn't know was that St. Augustine also has a lot of offerings for family, and different ages. They have things for teens, they have things for little ones, they have things for mom and dad. So when they contacted me, they wanted me just at first to do a familiarization trip with my family. But then as we started talking, and when they explained the campaign to me, I said, why don't we do a couple other things? That was the outside of the box thinking. I said, you want to market to the multicultural market. A lot of multicultural families travel with their grandparents or travel with older relatives. Why don't we showcase what there is for the older generation? Why don't we showcase what there is for a teen? Because I had a teen at the time. I said, why don't we showcase what there is for little ones? Because I have little ones. And they went full steam with that. That's when I always say, make sure what your goals are, because they invested in this. They had a medium crew and team follow us around the whole entire trip to take pictures of that and take video of it, which then they repurposed into commercials, YouTube, online advertisements, into a magazine spread. So when you think about the potential that there is, because with them, they saw a potential like this is the market that we're trying to hit everybody. We want everyone to know there's more here than just the historical sites. So they were able to, they had funding available for it, and they saw an opportunity to invest into the project and to give them more of even what they were even expecting. So we did, I went there by myself, I went there with my husband to do a couples for Valentine's Day, and then also for the summertime. So that was just a way of being able to showcase a brand that there is just more than this. You can come up with all kinds of unique ideas. They don't know, like they actually flat out told me, they said, we didn't even think about the potential of this, and they said, this would be really great. So when you come to a brand, come with ideas, even if they're far-fetched, even if they sound like this is not what they came to me for. You never know how much budget they have, what they can invest in, and even if it's not this year, what they can put in and plan for the following year, have you in their budget and their marketing goals. This was just some of examples of the posts. I wanted to show it to you because this just shows you, like, by the post by themselves, this was just on Instagram, you can see that there's different generations. You can see my mother, she was in one of those scooters knocking everybody out while she's going around it. So you can see that this was a multi-generational trip, and that was something a goal that once we started working together, they wanted to accomplish. The results from this was just a screenshot of just one of the small ones, was real engagement and conversations. On the trip that I took with my husband, I did a live video of just the hotel room. Immediately, I got people, we hadn't even taken the family trip yet, and people were asking, oh my gosh, I want to go there. What is there to do for families? This is when you work together as a brand and an influencer, because they had already provided me some key things that kids could do, attractions, destinations, before we even took our trip. So I was able to answer them right there. Even though we hadn't taken our trip yet, I was able to answer right in real time. This is where you can go to find some really cool things for the kids to do. We're going to be experiencing it next month. Follow along. We had people that were booking right there, do the Facebook. They're like, I'm calling the hotel right now. This looks great. I want to go. We had people that hadn't been to St. Augustine in 20-something years, and because of the live content, they were immediately engaged and were making plans for it. So it was real-time engagement, conversations on social media. It kind of helped change their marketing landscape, because they were just thinking at first just for a familiarization trip, and it turned into a multi-generational trip. It appealed to different demographics. We also, which is I think is important, especially when you're doing experiences, to show different price points. Don't let everything be Cadillac and Escalade-like, Mercedes-Benz, beautiful stuff, wonderful. But how about the same traveler who's budget conscious and still wants to go on a trip with their family? Show things that are also affordable as well. And the duration of the activation of the program had over 3 million views, impressions, and reach, continued reach in the thousands. I mean, that's still one of my most popular things, popular social media posts. We get people, I still see it every day, that still look and download and click and see the videos. And the cause and effect was that it created a real interest in destination vacation planning, and their sales increased immediately. Mic drop. Thank you. Be transparent. One of the things that you want to do when you're working both on the influencer side and on the brand side is set expectations and work together. Remember that you are trying to build a relationship. This is not a one-hit wonder. This is not Vanilla Ice. You're trying to do something long-term, So give positive, as a brand, you want to give positive feedback and constructive input. Worst thing is that you put in all this effort as an influencer into a really great social media pages, you have engagement and everything, and you hear zip from the brand. And you know that happens. You know, you don't hear anything from them until the whole thing is over. People are asking questions and the brand doesn't even respond. You don't want to see that. So you want to make sure that you are actively part of the conversation. Give good feedback. If there's something that you want to say to the influencer, some concern, definitely give it, but give it in a constructive way. Contact them privately. Just say, we have, some concerns here, or we have something we want you to add. Those things happen because as the real-time authenticity, engagement, and conversation are happening, sometimes you have to add something. Something that happened with St. Augustine was that immediately someone wanted a code for a hotel and all that, and they had to jump in and give them the code because I didn't have that. So you want to make sure that they are engaged in real time with that. Be accessible. One of the things that I think I hear influencers say a lot is that they start a campaign with one PR person. Somewhere along the line, the PR person changed. The influencer didn't get notified. Now they're expecting payment. They don't know who to contact, and they have no idea what's going on. It's like the PR person dropped off the face of the earth. So you want to make sure that you are accessible and that you do give notification. If there's going to be any changes to that campaign, to that event that you're doing, give the influencer immediate notification. Even if it's that so-and-so is going to take over, because sometimes when so-and-so takes over for someone that just left, so-and-so does not know what's going on, doesn't know the conversations. A lot of times we're privy to the conversations that you had with that main point of contact. So you want to make sure that you let as an employee, that you let whoever's taking over for you know what's going on, and that you notify the influencer. Especially, I always say for influencers, just a key, find out who handles their finances or who you can contact, even if it's just an email, that if anything happens and there's something concerned about monetary compensation and you don't longer have any access to that main point of contact that you had before, that you have someone you can contact that deals with finances. Of course, follow FTC guidelines is always a rule of thumb. As a brand, you can expect results. Sometimes you'll hear a brand says, well, I don't know, can we really have an ROI? Can we really follow up on them? Yes, you can. You can expect when you find the right influencer, they're going to be ethical, that they're going to be professional, that they're going to deliver on-time results, that they are going to share their tracking and they're going to share their results. It's very easy, especially if you're using a branded hashtag, to see that engagement, to see how many likes you got, to see where the conversations were happening. You can expect a professional blogger to send that information to you. You can also expect that professional blogger to be, or influencer, to be that connection and resource for you. If you are a brand that is just starting out and you only know one influencer, you can be sure that that influencer knows other influencers. And when something is not maybe a perfect fit for this influencer, you will often find that they will recommend other partners that you can work with. They will take the extra initiative. A lot of bloggers who are professional will you ask them for one thing and they give you 5 extra. That is taking the extra initiative to let them know with you that they want to work with you, they want to continue the relationship. They will come up with solutions to improve a business relationship. Doesn't matter, not only if something goes awry, but also if this worked, let's see how we can expand on like this. Let's see how we can hit another target demographic that you want. They will come up with ideas and solutions. They will work with you. They will bring new ideas to your business, and they will also serve as a consultant. A lot of times brands need a consultant. They don't have it, whether it's small business or even a big brand. Sometimes they do not have the time or the budget to have a full-time PR idea strategy person. But you do have that in an influencer. So you want to work together, not capitalize on them, but work together to mutually benefit both of your goals. I find that a successful formula is investment plus partnership equals success. Know what those goals are ahead of time. Allow the influencer to have creative control. Utilize live content. Live content is king right now, so Facebook, Twitter, on-site. If you're doing an event on site, that is also key. Use that branded hashtag where people are talking about your brand and that influencer in real time. Be open to new ideas, like I showed with St. Augustine. Be open to experiences, offline activations that really align with your marketing sales goals, or take it to a next level more than what you even thought. Put in some budget an investment in that initiative. Whatever is the compensation that works for the influencer and that works for your business, but make a line item when you are talking about your marketing goals to have an investment for that influencer. Also, give them media support. I talked about St. Augustine when they had the camera crew follow us. On-air opportunities. A lot of brands have connections with local media. Have that influencer represent your brand online. I've done that on TV or radio. I've done that many times. And it is a success for the brand because they have a real life person, not another infomercial, not another commercial, but a real life person who actually feels great about their brand, is excited about their product, talking about it on a local and a national stage. Also, think about engagement and awareness. What does it increase? Sales and interest. So when you have immediate engagement, when you have real conversations, when you have authentic storytelling, and you are having, as the influencer, you're able to present that product, that brand in your own unique way. That only elevates the brand and elevates your own brand as well. So you also can get some things that you can also measure: website traffic, page views, sales interest, increase. These are all things that can be measured with a successful partnership with an influencer. You can see that there's continued interest in the post. Evergreen content still is king. People will still refer to that blog post from 3 years ago because it has evergreen content on it. Building a relationship. You always want to go into this thinking, how can we work together, not just now, but in the future as well. My final thoughts is know your brand as a business, know your brand, know your target audience, identify who your key goals and objectives are, find that right influencer, look up those hashtags, look at your customer data, look at your insights to find out when people are talking about your brand, what influencers are organically already talking about your brand. Make sure they're relevant and authentic, that they have updated sites, that they are taking real pictures, that they're just being a real person and that shows through their storytelling. Understand the pitch, understand what's a good pitch and what's a bad pitch. Understand that you want to give them creative controls, give them the parameters of your sales and marketing goals, but let them have control creatively, that you want to build a relationship. Understand that time is money. So if you're asking an influencer and you're engaging in a partnership, you do expect that there's going to be an investment, however that compensation works out between the both of you, but there is an investment. And you want to negotiate fairly. For the blogger, for the influencer, you can start high so that you give them some wiggle room so where they need to land when they get their approvals on their side from the brand. Collaborate and be a true partner. Be a partner where you're open to new ideas, working together what works best for your consumer and for their audience, because remember, they are the ones that know their business and they are the ones who understand their audience, and you want to make sure that your customer market that you're targeting and their audience align together. Anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering what your recommendation would be when an influencer maybe goes off script a little bit, so you think you both are online, and maybe they say something. I can give you a couple specific examples where I've seen this happen, and what they put out there, you give them creative control, but it's not necessarily positive for them. It's kind of either neutral or maybe even potentially negative.
Okay. So one of the first things when those instances happen is that you first have to talk to the influencer, and I say not an online conversation. We do not want to get into a debate online on Twitter, between you and the influencer. That's a conversation, one, you need to have in private. Two, you need to understand why is it that they're either neutral or possibly negative. What happened with that product? What happened with the experience? Is there a way, three, as a brand, that you can make it better? Is it something that needs to be worked on? Did the product fail on them? Or was it just they didn't have enough learning about the product? Because sometimes you give an influencer product and it doesn't work, and you're like, and not even the brand knows how it works sometimes. So, you want to make sure that you've given them proper training and that you understand as a brand what happened in that experience that caused that. And you can turn it into a positive. Because if you two have now worked together and said, this didn't work for us, it didn't work for you either, how can we turn the online landscape, how can we turn it to a positive thing? Say the things that you came up with to make it better. Did you contact them? Did you give them a new product? Was there something that was fixed on it that you didn't even know about that needed to be fixed? How is it the ways that you can change the talk and the tone of it, but being completely honest and saying, hey, we messed up, but we fixed it. But we did this, something that will change the narrative of that conversation.
You keep it transparent.
very transparent. The only thing I always say is do not get into, I've seen this before where brands will almost seem like they're attacking an influencer because they're like, well, that's not what we said, or, that's not the converse. That's not the proper medium for that. That's a private conversation. And then the two of you together, like a joint statement, can come out and say, we have these issues, but this is how we made it work. This is the solutions. We have to be solutions driven. Is that okay? Yes.
My name's Nemo.
I know, Nemo.
See you again. My question, because this has been a tough one for me. I'm in a situation, or of course it's a good situation to have, where I'm getting like the bigger press, like the national stuff,
Mhm.
and then like I try to funnel that down into like, hey local, like your boy in Orlando holding it down on the big thing.
Right.
Shout me out down here too. How do you get, and this is I guess a good situation, but a weird situation. How do you get the, how do
Local.
you transfer like, okay, I'm getting on the national level.
Mhm. Are you in contact with any local news media outlets?
Nah.
Okay, first thing I would do for you is follow up with our contact, the local news media outlet, with that national story that they've done. If you've got national attention, link it and tag News WKMG, tags, Spectrum, the News 13. Contact them and let them know what's happening with you with an Orlando base, and I'm speaking this from experience as well. With my own brand, it happened years ago. WKMG came to me. I had only had national support at that time. I had sent them a tweet, they saw it, they retweeted it, nothing came of it like at the beginning, and then they asked me for an email. I contacted them with my media kit, just what I showed here. A pitch is what I'm doing, this is who my brand is, and they came out to my house and did a whole story of how mom bloggers are working with brands. So you want to make sure that you're on their radar by getting on their radar. On all of the news media websites, they have a press and media inquiry form, or they have an email there. Send them your pitch. Let them know who you are. Link it to one of those national attentions that you've already gotten, so they can see that you're someone that's doing big things right here in their backyard. Make them want to know who you are. You're welcome. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
You pretty much brings to all of this. This is new to me, but you spoke on knowing how to negotiate properly.
Yes.
So what are some ways that you can measure your worth or the worth of the influencer? How does that work in measuring that?
Are you a new blogger?
I'm completely green. I mostly do vlogging, not really a good writer, but I'm more into the video.
Okay.
But I do plan to have some people doing some things and working with some people, so I would need to know, how to measure that.
Right. So in the beginning, when you're first starting out, you have to see if you're doing things for exposure. Are you trying to bring exposure? Just like you just said, you're new in the landscape. So you want to get credibility from those media outlets. You want brands and brands to work with you, but they need to know who you are. So when you pitch them, you want to show them, this is some of the things I've done. Okay, now in the beginning, you have to understand, it might be that it might not be very big numbers. It might not be something, like a whole big trip or financial compensation, but you're starting the conversation with them to working with you when you're first starting out. Show them who you are. Send them those videos that you're done already, that you're proud of. I always say send the top 3 that you like. Okay, don't, sometimes people just send here's all my YouTube. Well, they're not gonna take the time to look through every YouTube video. Show them the links of the top 3 that you feel that best define you and your brand, that align with your vision statement. Then also in the pitch to them, see, why is it that your brand should be working with their brand? What is it that you can offer them as a service? And then say, you can be forthright about it and say, I'm very new at this, or I'm starting out with this, but I feel like we can work together, and show them those creative ideas and ask them in that pitch, if there's a budget, I would love to have to talk about compensation, but if there's not a budget, I would also like to work about exposure for me at this time that I'm a new blogger, and how we can work together. Okay, no problem. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you so much for coming out. I appreciate it. There's somebody, wait, okay. Reverse. Yeah.
So if I sent a pitch to a company and they said, they love your stuff, but not at this time, but
Right.
I've got hardcore love with passion and I want to work with this
Yes.
company, so I'm not taking no. How long would you wait before you were like, hey?
first of all, I would respond back and say, when they say not now, said then when. That's the first question I always come out with. I said, when is it that you think, is it for quarter 4? Is it next year's budget that you need to put me in there? Do you need to put me in your database so that you can have me in your marketing goals for next year? You've got to really pin down with them, first of all, what it is. Also, find out if you're willing to, if you really want to work with them and you really want to show them what you can do, find out and says, listen, is there any way that is not monetary based but is something in exchange of services? So can they offer you a free product that you, because you're dying to work with them, that you're willing to just blow them out the water, they got to be like, we got to pay this girl, and stuff. So you want to start a way that you can open up the door a little bit. Sometimes they will come out and say, listen, we can't do anything. We can't even send you a free rug. We can't do nothing until next year. Okay, but now you're on their database. And when January 1st comes, guess who they're getting an email from? You want to go right back to them with your pitch. And in that time too that they've said no, if you work with other brands, this is a beautiful time to showcase them after the first of the year. Here are all the brands that I've been working with. And I recommend that for every blogger. In the following year, always send out your introduction. Hey, remember me? Media kit, send that all to them, because you know what? Even in their own PR agencies and with their own brands, they have people that move, people that didn't even know that you existed because that person is not there anymore. So you want to make sure that they have you on their radar. Okay. I think that was the last one, right? Okay, now you can clap. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.